Candidates, a very good afternoon to everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. We'd like to thank our journalists, member of the Fourth Estate. Thank you to everybody joining us online. Now, the purpose of this Election Watch presser is to give Zimbabweans an update of where we are. It's 35 days to Election Day in a year that President Nelson Chamisa indicated would be the year of a citizen's victory for change. Now, the upcoming election of the 23rd of August 2023 is being held against a backdrop of mass suffering. 49% of Zimbabweans are living under extreme poverty, according to the World Bank. We've got a public health crisis. Our public education system is on its knees. There's mass unemployment, poor working conditions for those who are fortunate enough to have a job, dilapidated infrastructure, repressive legislation, including the recently enacted patriotic bill, which was crafted through an amendment to the criminal code. The PVO bill still hangs over the heads of citizens. Students are being arrested and jailed. Honorable Job Sikala remains incarcerated. It's been a record 300, and it's over, I think, 380 days now. Jacob Ngarivume also is a political prisoner. In short, the social contract between citizens and the state has all but broken down. Now, it's against this background that the Triple C presents an alternative. And this alternative is to build a Zimbabwe that works for everyone, while ZANU-PF continues to try and push for a Zimbabwe that works for ED. When he announced our agenda for the year, President Nelson Chamisa indicated that we are going to have a big citizen campaign this year. And so we just want to thank all the citizens who came to our campaign launch on Sunday. It was big, it was massive, it was inspirational, and we're very grateful to the citizens of Mkoba, obviously, but also citizens from all provinces who managed to congregate and have a bumper record crowd. One could not breathe at the stadium. There were so many people. But more fundamentally, President Nelson Chamisa shared his vision for an alternative Zimbabwe, highlighting, of course, that we're going to soon launch our new Great Zimbabwe Blueprint, which is our alternative policy plan, which sets out our manifesto as we go into this election. Now, the citizen campaign is being run against the backdrop of huge fear on the part of ZANU-PF. To date, 102 rallies/meetings of the Triple C have been banned or disrupted, but we're not stopping. None of that is going to stop change whose time has come. President Nelson Chamisa made it clear on Sunday that we have a deliberate rural penetration drive, and it's not something that started after the election date was announced. It's something that we've been doing effectively since our inception in January last year. We've been conducting Mugwazo, which is a grassroots mobilization campaign in all 36,000 of the villages in Zimbabwe, throughout all provinces of Zimbabwe. This means that we've got a presence, an organic presence in every single village. So even if you say we're not going to have a rally at X place, our structure's already there. They already have the memo concerning the mango strategy, and so they're ready and mobilized for change. We also are aware that there are going to be approximately 12,000 polling stations, and to this end, preparations are at a very advanced stage to ensure that we deploy polling agents at each of the polling stations that have been announced. We're mobilizing door to door in every village, in every street, in every town, in every city, and beyond, to ensure that we win big for change. President Nelson Chamisa said that the For Everyone campaign seeks to ensure that every single Zimbabwean is included in the new Great Zimbabwe. We want public health for everyone, jobs for everyone, a decent wage for everyone, and just a better life for every single citizen. Every single person must be able to put a roof over their head and food on their table, and to send their children to school. That's the Zimbabwean dream that we promise to deliver for everyone. We encourage all citizens to get involved, to spread the word, adopt a polling station. offer to help with the mapping of polling stations as well. Each of us has a rural roam. Please get involved, not just in your constituency where you're registered, if you're registered in town, but also make sure that you get involved with your hometown. Find out who the MP candidate is, find out who your councillors are, and offer your support on the ground. Of course, not all of this work can be publicized. Some of it we have to do, in a subtle way to ensure that, our opponents don't try and strangle the people who are working extremely hard and tirelessly for change. Now, just a word on double candidates. As you all know, there is still civil litigation to ensure that the fraudulent fake double candidates are removed from the nomination list that was put out by ZEC. As you're aware, they forged the CCC logo. They faked signatures with the result that they're not duly nominated members of the CCC. I mean, it offends all known law and procedure that a person can hold out to be a member or a duly nominated person of an association where they haven't been officially put forward. This is a clear violation of the electoral law, and this is something that our lawyers are taking up in the electoral court. In addition to that, we've lodged criminal complaints, which are still pending. We expect the police to do their job, to act in accordance with their constitutional mandate and ensure that those who are responsible for this criminal conduct are held to account. That notwithstanding, we're conducting a rigorous voter education campaign so that citizens know exactly who their leaders are and they know who the fakes are so that they vote correctly on voting day. So far, we're pleased to report that citizens generally know who their leaders are. So the doubles are going to have no way of succeeding in this election. Now, coming to the voters' roll, which is the crux of today's press briefing, we encourage all citizens to continue to inspect the voters' roll. Use your *265 hash if you use EcoNet or if you use Net1, and make sure you're familiar with the constituency that you're in. The delimitation process that was conducted by ZEC earlier this year means that your boundaries might have changed. So please get familiar with which constituency you'll be in. Get to know your citizen candidates. Get to know your MP, your councillors. We obviously all know that we're going to vote resoundingly for President Nelson Chamisa in the presidency. Now, I'm going to defer without further ado to our Elections Directorate, specifically Ellen Shiriedenga, who's appearing obviously with Councillor Ian Makone, who are going to give us a more detailed expose on the voters' roll, which was released to us. Our huge complaint there is the format. Constitutionally and in terms of our electoral law, the voters' roll should be analyzable. You should not need computer nerds to break into the voters' roll. Anybody who's a candidate should be able to open it and analyze it accordingly. But that's something, amongst other things, that Ms. Shiriedenga is going to advert to. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'll speak mainly with regards to the voters' roll and all other, key electoral milestones. As what Champion Fazi has just said, we are 35 days away from the polling, and the electoral processes have gained momentum, and there's a lot of activity going on. And also, what is important is that we, as the CCC and any other concerned stakeholder out there, we should ensure that whatever processes are done, they should be done in a constitutional manner, fairly and transparently, so that at the end of the day, there will be no doubt with regards to the credibility and legitimacy of the electoral outcome after the 23rd of August. In that regard, let me talk about the voters' roll. As you're all aware, the voters' roll has been an area of contestation this electoral season, and also even the previous electoral season, be it the 2013 elections, be it the 2008, we've always had issues with regards to the voters' roll, particularly with respect to accessibility and its credibility. The last time we received the voters' roll as a party was in January 2022. And unfortunately, we never got to access the roll since then, to the extent that even the delimitation which we had last year as stakeholders, or even just the citizens out there, did not even know, did not even have access to the voters' roll. Moreover, as you are aware, the delimitation is premised on the numbers of registered voters. So we're actually in the dark when we actually went through this delimitation exercise. But needless to say, according to Section 21, subsection 6 of our Electoral Act, candidates, upon nomination, they are entitled to electronic copies of the voters' roll. And as such, is the CCC presidential candidate got his copy of the national voters' roll on the 10th of July. And subsequent to that, our members of parliament that were also duly nominated, they got their copies of the voters' roll. Be that as it may, Section 21, subsection 7 of the Electoral Act clearly spells that where a voter's roll is provided in electronic form, in terms of subsection 3, 4, or 6, of the Electoral Act, its format shall be such as allows its contents to be searched and analyzed. So there is then emphasis on the analyzability and searchability of the voters' roll. Upon receipt of the national voters' roll for a presidential candidate, as the CCC, we were shocked to note that the voters' roll was in PDF format. The PDF format is an output format intended for reading purposes only. There is no way you can analyze using PDF. Even the searching function, if the Control F function, is just limited. It does not allow for a comprehensive search. And in that regard, being a PDF format, what it means is that as candidates, for example, we are a candidate for Ward 18 in Harare, municipality like Councillor Makwane. From the national voters' roll, you cannot ascertain the registered voters in that particular ward. Neither, even if you say you want to analyze specific demographics, like a specific age group, for example, the youth age group, the 18 to 35-year-old, at a particular constituency or ward, you can't do that because of the limit of the restrictions of that particular file. More so, the voters' roll for the presidential candidate, you cannot print. So what it means, remember, when people do their door-to-door canvassing, they'll prefer moving around with copies of the voters' roll so that people are able to, to tick whenever they approach people. But that is not possible because the voters' roll is not in a printable format. What it literally means, at this stage, you can only view the voters' roll from a computer or possibly a phone, a smartphone. But then what it means is that, because of the huge, data there, the font becomes too small. So literally one has to strain his or her eyes. So that is the concern that we raised to ZEC. On our letter, we wrote to them on the 14th of July, just last week, to say we've noted a breach in terms of Section 21, subsection 7 of the Electoral Act, which speaks to the analyzability of the voters' roll. And we have since requested ZEC to give us the proper copies of the voters' roll in an analyzable format, be it the Excel format, which they used to give us on, or even Microsoft Access. We will be able to analyze it on that basis. Most importantly, the second part with respect to the voters' roll is the auditing of the voters' roll. the voters' roll we received from ZEC in January 2022. As the CCC, we conducted our preliminary audit with the assistance of citizens out there. And we unearthed a lot of anomalies. Further to that, the voters' roll inspection, which was conducted in May this year, we also noted a lot of discrepancies, which were actually more or less the same with those that we noted upon auditing the voters' roll in January. Like, for example, we had cases which was mainly peculiar in Bulawayo. A lot of people, we had their names missing from the voters' roll. And we even wrote to ZEC to request ZEC to address those issues in our letter dated the 30th of May, and of which unfortunately we never got a response to that effect. So with the issues of missing names, thousands and thousands of people couldn't find their names. And also the first-time voters were also affected. Just as I was coming here, I got a call from about 20 people from Chitungwiza, who were first-time voters. They couldn't find their names on the voters' roll that were given last week. So we still have a problem in that regard. And also the other problem that we noted was, remember, we have a new delimitation boundaries. We realized that there was, in some areas, they were mixed up with regards to the polling station and the new boundaries. Where a case in point of St. Mary's, where the current Member of Parliament for St. Mary's, Honorable Tarusenga, wrote to ZEC to say, in his constituency, in view of the new delimitation boundaries, the people that rightfully belong in St. Mary's, some of them are finding themselves in a neighboring constituency, being Zengeza West. And he even cited members of the same family that are residing in the same house. You have the mother being registered in, allocated a polling station in St. Mary's, yet the father is allocated a polling station in Zengeza, which is a completely different ward and a completely different constituency altogether. So the Honorable MP actually wrote to ZEC, and it's not the only case. We had several cases throughout the country which we wrote to ZEC in our dossier of the 30th of May, where we cited such anomalies. So this is why we are keen, as the CCC and also as the citizens of Zimbabwe in general, to say we should be able to analyze this voters' roll, which will be used for election. Say, in the event that these anomalies have not been corrected, then we've got a risk of having thousands and thousands of Zimbabweans being unable to exercise their right to vote on election day. So this is why we're keen to get the voters' roll in an analyzable format and see if those anomalies can be addressed. We have cases, for example, polling stations, some people were displaced from their polling stations, some placed in areas which are 10 kilometers away from their places of residence, different constituency, different wards. I can tell you specifically we had a certain polling area in Thorngrove in Bulawayo. Suddenly those people found their names in Pumula constituency at St. Bernard's High School there. So those are some of the concerns that we raised, and it is our hope that we'll be given the opportunity to analyze this voters' roll as soon as possible and ensure that corrective measures are put in place before the election. You know, our president always says the voters' roll is like a syllabus for every academic study. In the event that you study a wrong syllabus, then we are likely to fail the exam. So as Zimbabweans, we wouldn't want to fail the exam because of the voters' roll issue. The second issue which we want, I intend to discuss, is that the issue of the double candidates. Champion Fadzi did allude to the crisis that we have on the double candidates, just maybe a point of note. We have 20 House of Assembly double candidates. 15 are in Harare, 1 in Marondera, 1 in Kariba, and 3 in Bulawayo. And with respect to local authority double candidates, we have 18 of them spread across Bulawayo, Marondera Municipality, and Ngai RDC. What we noted as a party, remember, if you go to the Electoral Act, once nomination courts, once after the sitting of the nomination court, a day after that, the public is given the opportunity to go and inspect the nomination papers. Upon hearing that we had double candidates, and knowing very well that, those people were not duly sponsored by the party, we went to inspect the papers which they lodged before the nomination court. We discovered that, firstly, those people forged our signatures of our designated officials that were authorized to sign. That was in Bulawayo in Harare. And also, secondly, we also noted that in particularly Ngai RDC and the Bulawayo municipality, the council wards, there was a new list of signatories that were not authorized by the party. You know, our Electoral Act and through ZEC, before any election, we are supposed, as political parties, there's a form VN5, which each and every political party that intends to contest elections is supposed to fill in that form with the list of persons that are duly authorized to be signatories. And also at the same time, there should be specimen signatures. And we did that as the CCC. We filled in the VN5 forms. We submitted that to ZEC for our national authorized signatories and also the provincial authorized signatories. So ZEC had the list of those of our people. But to our surprise, they accepted nomination papers that were signed by persons that were not duly authorized by the party. And those persons, let me just mention the 3 of them that signed on behalf of the party but not authorized. We had someone by the name of Mbuso Siso, Sengezo Chabangu, and Jabulani Ngobi. So those signed for double candidates, which were not authorized by the party, and neither were they authorized by the party to sign. The other issue that we noted in terms of the anomalies with the papers lodged by these double candidates was the symbol, the party symbol. Our party symbol, which we submitted to ZEC, was in black and white. The head of our president, Chamisa, and the paper used was gloss paper. These fraudulent candidates literally photocopied our letterhead and on bond paper and pasted that as their party symbol, which was in complete variance with what we submitted to ZEC. And even the Bulawayo one, I understand their symbol had actually a yellow background. Yet our official symbol as a party, the background was black and white. So, be that as it may, we felt the nomination court did not exercise due diligence in terms of scrutinizing those papers. So this is why we wrote to ZEC on the 24th of June, highlighting that concern to say they've approved papers for persons that were not duly authorized by the party. The response from ZEC was to the effect that, as far as they are concerned, they did not see any reason to believe that those persons were not duly sponsored by the party. Resultantly, we've taken our issue to court. And just as well as we speak, the Electoral Court in Bulawayo is sitting just now to deliberate on this issue of the double candidate and some other issues. And also, we laid criminal charges with an RRB number, which we got from Law and Order. Actually, Councillor Makone is the one who actually went and made those criminal charges. What we are being advised by our lawyers in that regard is that what's currently stalling the progress with respect to the criminal charges we laid is that ZEC is yet to us to submit the exhibits, being the nomination papers that were signed by these fraudulent candidates. So our lawyers are working on that. We are waiting for ZEC and the Law and Order to revert to us. Let me just point out something, the last thing with regards to double candidates. As a party, we did our own internal investigations. And you can tell that clearly this double candidature issue is well coordinated. FAS is involved in terms of sponsoring these candidates. You know, even if you look at some of them, you can clearly tell that this person cannot afford the $1,000 that they paid as the nomination fee. And we did our investigations, and we told, we unearthed that FAS actually paid for them. FAS actually tried to convince some of our colleagues in the CCC to stand as double candidates, but refused. But some fell for it, and we have persons that were actually part of our processes that did not make it, but decided to stand as double candidates being sponsored by FAS. And the second category of these fraudulent candidates is that of people that are staunch ZANU-PF activists. I can cite, for example, we have the ones contesting in Chitungwiza North by the name of Nyasha Zashe Inok Chitoro, and also we have Christmas Goremu Sandu, who is contesting in Sunningdale. Those are known ZANU-PF activists. Even if you go to their Facebook, Twitter profiles, you'll see them in ZANU-PF regalia, although find some, I understand they've put them down. But those were not our members. And even if you go to the database of CISP that conducted our candidate selection processes, they are not even there. They did not participate. But suddenly, we find their names on the nomination papers, purportedly being sponsored by the CCC. So this is how fraudulent and deceitful these people are. I think the aspect of the political playing political field, I think Fadzi did speak to that in terms of our numbers, our rallies that have been banned, you know, the violence being intensifying throughout the country, and having our, you know, candidates are being arrested. For example, we have members of parliament, candidates, that 3 of them that were arrested just last week. The one for Masvingo Eben, Advocate Martin Mureri, Bedisai Gasra from Masvingo West, and Clifford Tlachwa Chipinge South, and also with Koban Mativanika, our candidate from Bizo. those 4 were arrested just last week and this week. So that is a cause for concern. And mainly, the arrests are due to them, for example, for Clifford Kipinge South, he was just, doing his door-to-door canvassing and yes, with the cars, with posters and on, but then he was accused and charged. The charge was possession. So which it came to us. For us, we don't know if MOPA is such a provision, but clearly it's not there. So that is a cause for concern. But and the violence is intensifying. But then what we simply want to reiterate as the CCC is that, all this shows that ZANU-PF is in a panic mode. And also that ZANU is not prepared for a free and fair election. Nevertheless, we continue thanking the people of Zimbabwe for their resilience and their undeterred spirit, to the effect that they want to cast their vote for their preferred candidate come the 23rd of August. The fourth issue is with regards to polling stations. The electoral law states that polling stations should be gazetted 21 days before polling, and that will be on the 2nd of August, according to the ZEC calendar. Be that as it may, we take leave of Section 51 of our Electoral Act, which speaks to what is expected of, when establishing polling stations. First and foremost, we have encouraged our candidates, be it local government or be it parliamentary candidates, to utilize the multi-party liaison committees and engage ZEC on this establishment of polling stations. Because we've been hearing concerns when some of the polling stations, that have been there or that are there on the voters roll that has just been issued out, to say some of them are known, they are new, and there are questions with regards to the voter population there. And so we've asked our people to engage ZEC. And more so, we implore upon ZEC to adhere to the requirements of Section 51 of our Electoral Act. To say, for example, that every polling station shall be located in a place that is readily accessible to the public, including persons with physical disabilities. So that's the issue of access. B, that no polling station should be located in premises owned or occupied by political party or candidate. We've been hearing, we are not yet, we haven't confirmed that, but we have some polling stations that are located at farms owned by political activists. So we are trying to investigate those cases and see if we can approach ZEC to actually respect the law in allocating those polling stations. B, there should be no polling station located in a police station, barracks, cantonment area, or other place where police officers or members of the defense forces are permanently stationed. So that is one other request that we've put across to ZEC. And also, if you can recall, in 2022 by-elections, we had a case in point in Kwekwe constituency, where we had a polling station that was literally located in the middle of the bush, where there are no residents there. People had to move to the bush. And clearly, that place is kind of a risk area. So as polling stations are being established. It is our request that, as outlined by Section 51, subsection 1D of the Electoral Act, that no polling station should be allocated at a place which for any reason may give rise to reasonable apprehension on the part of voters as to the secrecy of their votes or the integrity of the electoral process. So this is what we are encouraging our candidates to look into as ZEC establishes the polling stations. Also, with regards to polling stations, there's a notable scenario which we observed during the voters' roll inspection, where we had cases like in Southerton, where a polling station, which was a polling inspection center there, was allocated to 2 different wards. And that is clearly, a breach of the law. And we expect polling stations to be assigned to a specific ward, just as well. We have a case in point, Clayton Farm Hall, here in Harare East. That farm hall, remember there are polling streams A and B. A should be allocated to Ward 9, Harare East, and then B is allocated to Ward 18 in Harare East. And that creates confusion. And we would ask ZEC to rectify that, because as far as we are concerned, the delimitation boundaries are clear. If, say, this polling station is Ward 18, let Ward 18 persons vote in that particular polling station, and not to mix up the 2 wards. Lastly, with regards to polling stations, I think we've noted that in the voters roll that we've been allocated, the polling station codes have been removed. A polling station code is like an identity card number, right? An identity number, sorry. And that is unique to a specific person. But then if we have polling stations that do not have codes, at the end of the day, it becomes difficult, to account for polling stations. So, and that's when you see the risk of polling stations being moved, clandestinely. So this is our request to ZEC to say, when they gazette the voters' roll, they should also include the polling station codes. So those are the 4 issues that I wanted to talk about, and I thank you for now.
Thank you very much. We're going to make a detailed written summary of Ellen submissions available for the press, so please just look out on our channels. We're also going to circulate it amongst our journalist groups on WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, and so on, so please look out for that. Now, with your leave, Councillor Makone, I'm going to just take a few questions. As usual, please indicate your name, the news house you're coming from, ask 1 question so that we can have quite a few. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. My name is Panashima from Sources.
We'll need you to speak up so that we hear the
My
question.
name is Panashima from Sources Media News Agency. So my first question is, I have 2 questions. In the event that these anomalies are not corrected, that she was highlighting, what are you going to do as a party? Are you going to report the election process, or you're going to proceed?
Sorry, just 1 question at a time so we can cover a lot. What are we going to do? The CCC has consistently said that ZANU-PF can never win a free and fair election in Zimbabwe. We know that electoral malpractices are in their lifeblood. They're going to try and rig no matter what. So the first and most important call to action for every citizen is that we need to win big. We need to vote big, defend big. We need to ensure that we all, stay at our polling stations. Our polling agents will be in place so that there is no scope for these electoral malpractices to take root. We're going to use every single tool available to us. We're going to use litigation, obviously. We're going to use political pressure, but we're also going to use our own internal mobilization. The Triple C, we're not crybabies. We're champions for a reason. So we're going to fight and fight hard. And ZANU-PF's posture tells you beyond any doubt that they know that we're no walkover. They thought they buried us after they did their shenanigans with the MDC alliance, and yet here we are, the biggest political party in the country. So we're going to fight. They must expect that we're going to fight hard so that we win Zimbabwe for change for everyone. Next question. Yes, ma'am?
Okay, I'm Monica from HSC. I want to know when and where is the next rally?
Oh, that's a very good question. President Nelson Chamisa has been on the campaign trail non-stop. Almost every single day, every single week in the lead up to the election, he's going to be conducting rallies. This week, I believe he's in Mat South. Mat South starting from tomorrow. And so these rallies are going to be predominantly in the rural areas. But we know the people we're dealing with, so we're not going to give them a schedule right here, right now. We know they're here and they're listening. But be rest assured that our bona fide media will be told. Sometimes for the protection of citizens in areas, we have to do things and then report afterwards so that the citizens remain safe when they are. But President Chamisa is on the campaign trail non-stop. 80% of his rallies are going to be in rural communities, currently Mat South. So Mat South, get ready. Our chair champion-in-chief is coming so that he can energize the base, see all the people who've been mobilized. But even though those rallies are taking place, we aren't stopping with internal meetings. We're going to continue. There are election mobilization teams, voter mobilization teams in all villages every single day. So, you know, rallies are just our show of force, but the real work is happening continuously on the ground. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. My name is Pretendo. I'm a journalist. What are you not complying with on MOPA? Because we've seen most of the cancellations. They are saying we are not combining, we are not following.
Thank you very much. That's a very good question. I want to put it beyond doubt that the bans of Triple C rallies have nothing to do with the law and everything to do with repression. In those instances where the police say that we have not complied with the Maintenance of Peace and Order Act, they're unable to articulate which section has been violated because there's simply no non-compliance. Our letters notifying the police are on a template. They're all the exact same ones. So you'll find that the notification that does lead to an authorization or clearance, as it's erroneously called, is exactly the same as the one where they say we haven't complied, which shows you that the police are not being honest. There has been full compliance with the Maintenance of Peace and Order Act, and yet the ZANU-PF is just abusing them to try and stop our rallies. That's all it's about. It's got absolutely nothing to do with the law. Yes, ma'am.
Just a follow-up. From Ms. Chiyedenga's presentation, you've written to ZEC more than 3 times, and they've only responded once. With only 30 days to go to election, what happens if ZEC doesn't respond?
Well, obviously, as a matter of law, and I'll let Ellen deal with this in addition after I've just laid out one thing. In terms of the law, we have to place them in mora. You don't just run to litigate without first engaging them. And there are some instances where ZEC has responded. There's a time that we didn't only write, we actually went to their offices. You saw them, they recruited, armed riot police to come after us. But be that as it may, we do everything we can to engage ZEC. Constitutionally, they're the ones mandated to deal with our concerns. We expect them to deliver a free, fair, credible, and verifiable election. If they don't, as I've indicated earlier to the gentleman who spoke there, we're going to use all tools available to us, not excluding litigation. So, for example, where we wrote to them about the double candidates, they didn't respond to us. We then took further steps. We engaged our lawyers who advised us to engage civil litigation, to make criminal reports, and so on. We're also applying political pressure. We are on a campaign to show who the correct candidates who aren't faked are.
No, you've answered that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? I think I'll take maybe 1 or 2 more. Yes, sir?
I just want to know, saying for the Masari,
it's not within the practice or comms protocol of the CCC to deal with personalities. And so I'm not going to be drawn into dealing with personalities. But to answer your question so that you don't say I've run away, we don't know. It's a forged signature. So we don't know who actually forged it. But the person who's represented as having signed for him didn't sign for him. And this is not just unique to him. This goes for all of the candidates that are an issue in this case. Is what I'm saying is a global answer to all of them. Yeah. Is there someone who hasn't asked a question, preferably a woman journalist? If not, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. So, one question you prepared is to and seriousness as a part of this election. You led to the application process in Malawi, which has taken you and the court for disqualification of those candidates in Malawi. How much is your budget towards this election to make sure that effective campaign and
okay, so the stripped to its essence, your question is how prepared is the CCC for this election? Now, the CCC is the only political party, bar ZANU-PF, that abuses state resources, loots, commandeers, Zuko, that is actually able to mount a credible offensive against ZANU-PF. We had no issues whatsoever with the nomination of our presidential candidate. We see other people are in court, other people didn't have the money. Ours was completely sorted. When it comes to parliamentary candidates, similarly, we beat the record of the MDC, and we had 100% success rate, meaning that in all 210 constituencies, we've got duly nominated candidates on behalf of the CCC. It's not correct that our candidates in Malawi were late. If they were late as a matter of law, ZEC would not have accepted their papers. Remember, they don't like us. They would do no favors for us. So the fact that their papers were duly received and that they were nominated, they appeared in the Gazette, means that we fully complied with the law. So when you look at the total matrix when it comes to preparation, nobody beats the CCC. The old criticism of the CCC or of the opposition was that, no, you've got an over-focus on urban areas. But look at things now. ZANU-PF was even terrified for us to have a rally in Mashonaland and Central because they know that we've penetrated and mobilized hard. Look what happened in Gope. Look what's happening in Chipinge South. They won't even let us do door-to-door. They won't let us have rallies. That is not the sign or posture of a political party that's not ready. They know that we're very ready. They try to squeeze all our sources of funding. And look at the bumper crowd that was at Nkoba Stadium. They try and ban our launch. We have another one. I don't know any other party that has the readiness to deal with a brutal dictatorship that's worse than Robert Mugabe. And we don't sit and moan about it. We make a plan B, C, D, E. Rest assured, we're not going to stop until we win Zimbabwe for change for everyone. And so on that note, I think we're going to close this press briefing. Thank you very much. Okay, just one because of our time.
All right, thank you very much. In your campaign as the CCC, in terms of candidature representation, I'm more concerned about women. How many, do you now have statistics to say these are the number of women who are coming from the CCC who are representing? Because there is concern that it seems as if the candidacy for women has gone down in this election.
Obviously, when you're dealing with a dictatorship that operates in a violent, brutal way, politics in general won't be safe for women. We all know what happened to what was then known as the MDC trio. When women, even yourself, look at that, they shy away from politics. And there's nothing that the CCC can do about it. However, we have a gender parity policy. And you will see, even with our constituency seats, that we are doing our best to give space to women who have the courage, who have the competence to stand. We ensured that all our quota PR seats were filled. Women are not just involved at parliamentary level, but also as council candidates. Even if you look at Bulilima, that is a big story for women. This is a rural constituency. Her nomination was citizen-driven, pushed. And so the CCC is actually making an effort, unlike the counterparts on the other side. We are making an effort. But that said, I think once the reforms are in place and politics is generally safer for women, more women will participate naturally. And as a party, you know, a lot of our key mobilizers are women. A lot of the people in the task force of the party are women. We have a dedicated women's task force to ensure that the issues and representation of women are respected at all levels. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. As citizens, we encourage everyone, play your part, get involved, don't sit in the terraces, make sure we vote big so that we have a new government led by President Chamisa and that we're able to build a Zimbabwe that works for everyone. Thank you.